Online education requires rehearsal. And so if you are trying tools, whether you know them or not, it's good to try them out and make sure that, yeah, they do work the way you want them to. And always put yourself in the student's shoes, right? What's it going to look like from their perspective? I know some tools are really handy, like if you use Moodle, for example, you can switch over to student view and see what they're seeing. And when you look at that, you can go, oh, okay, I missed a step here. Or maybe I need some more information or whatever. Or to reorganize the organization of that information. I think another thing to keep in mind is that Zoom fatigue, I guess we call it, where when we're working with students online, it's not like face-to-face. Face-to-face, you're in front of them all day long, right? And I always think back to September, school startup. That first week or two, the end of the day, a teacher's voice is gone because they'd be talking all day and they haven't been used to it all summer. Well, it's different online. You don't have to do that. You can choose little snippets out of your day to have those conversations. And so I think one thing to keep in mind is how much time do you really need to spend face to face with your kids to get them to do the work that they need to do? You know, could you have provided them with a video tutorial or an audio instruction that would have done the same thing, that would free you up for maybe one-on-one time with them? Those are considerations to make. But I think it's important not only for your own, well-being, but for the students, right? Kids, as you know, they need to move around, and being stuck in a chair all day in front of a camera is not good for them, for their mental health or for their physical health. And so to give them opportunities to get up and get moving, I think is really important. And we can only do that if we turn that camera off and give them that time to go and do that. And so that's something to structure into your day, is some physical activity, but to also keep in mind, if you're giving them that asynchronous piece where they're going to go off and work, it's okay if they finish early and go and play, as long as they know that they need to come back at a certain point to do, some more work. But I think it's important to, provide those expectations. And I talked about communication and all that sort of, thing, timetables. If you've got all those in place, then it's going to make your life so much easier. But I think another really important thing is leaning on other people. If you're new to the online world, whether it's by choice or, you've been voluntold that you're doing that, then talk to people. If you don't have a cohort, it's going to be really difficult. But some schools I know won't have those. But there's lots of people out there online that have fantastic resources. They have answers for the questions that you have. And it doesn't take long to dig around, even on YouTube, to find that there are some instructors out there that have just a plethora of information about all things online, whether it's assessments or tools or what have you, how to set up their desk even. It's amazing. So there's always information to go and find. I think that's really important to tap into that. But if you can chat with other people, do it. It's great to bounce ideas off of each other to see if there's common issues, especially if you're working within the same school or school division. If you're seeing those things, then that needs to be brought to the attention of leadership to say, look, this needs to be fixed. This is a problem. It's hampering our ability to do our online education with our students. And so yeah, I think those are definitely some useful tips. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's so many different things to consider, but having that framework, those expectations, that timetable, and like I said, keep it simple to begin with, use what you know, and then build from there. And eventually you'll be up and running. And that is a bit of a learning curve for some people. Make it your own. It's just like your regular classroom. If you make it your own, it means something to you, and it's more meaningful for your students. And so it's about thinking kind of about all the different ways that you could do something with an assignment. How could you create something where students would be able to give you the information that shows that they've met the learning outcomes and objectives, in a meaningful way. But yeah, it's important not to feel too overwhelmed at the beginning, and know that a lot of people are out there. They're in the same boat, and they're surviving. And to, you know, to reach out to people like us. That's what we're here for. Yeah, we don't pretend we have all the answers by any means, but yeah, there's certain tips and tricks that can make people's lives so much easier. It certainly makes you more flexible as an instructor.
You brought up talking to the leaders in terms of teachers finding the things that they need and overcoming any obstacles. Any suggestions for leaders who might be new to leading a virtual school?
Yeah, I think leaders really need to be aware of all those little nuances, you know, like I said about communication, that is such a huge part of it. Yeah, just being that patient manager who's going to listen to their staff and you know, try to address their needs and to work with people's strengths. You can, you know, team them up. You can mentor people. You might have people that you know have a stronger skill set in one area than another. I think the other thing with that leadership piece is understanding what your limitations are as far as the technology is concerned. So there definitely needs to have you know, a conversation with IT, with what it is that you're trying to accomplish and whether it's actually doable. There's price tags attached to everything, and so that is a real big piece to consider. And I always think that, you know, online teachers sometimes feel that they don't get the same budgetary backup as their face-to-face teachers do. Uh, but I always think of it like this. If I'm in a face-to-face class and I'm spending X number of dollars on photocopying, well, if I'm an online teacher, why wouldn't I be able to take that budget and put it towards software that I would use with my students? And I think there needs to be a balance, and people need to see that you're considering that. Otherwise, they're going to feel neglected. Because there's a lot of teachers that pay out of their pocket for those things. And I get it. I've done that because I wanted those things. And yeah, that's a choice you make as an instructor. But ultimately, if you can get support from leadership with that, that just makes it so much easier for everybody. But yeah, I think leadership really needs to, you know, get in there and see you know, what the structure is like. They think about instructional design from you know, the actual layout, digital layout of classes. You know, there needs to be consistency throughout every grade level. There needs to be consistency with assessment. There needs to be consistency with communication, all those sorts of things. And they need to come from leadership, because if it doesn't, then the teachers are going to be lost, right? They might have an idea of what they need to do, but you know, leadership really needs to be able to say, look, this is what we need. And so that's a big ask. And I don't expect, you know, leaders to be technically adept themselves necessarily, but they need to be able to answer those questions or to provide that guidance. And so if they don't know, like anybody else in education, you're going to go find those answers, right? I think that support piece really needs to be there. I think there needs to be ongoing support from leadership to say, look, if you have issues with families and students, that we're still there for you, that we understand that you might not have a hallway to walk down to the main office to talk to me about it, but you can give me a call. We can, you know, go on Zoom or Google Meet and have a conversation about that. Because I think that's really important too. I think leaders really need to embrace that and take that time uh, to have conversations with those instructors, just like those instructors have that conversation with their students. You know, make it a bit casual, see how they're doing. It's, you know, it's testing the temperature of the water, right? See if there's places where you can get them the help that they need if they need it. But yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. for leadership, and even from a curriculum standpoint, is just helping instructors navigate through what those outcomes are in an online environment. How do they translate? And so I think it's good to have sessions where we can bounce those ideas back and forth off of each other, or look at external areas where we can get help with those sorts of things. Because people look to leaders, for help and for support, and I think that's hugely important. And yeah, if you've got a strong leader that's there to lend an ear and to give you a pat on the back and support you, it'll make your online teaching experience a lot more positive. Yeah, it's really nice to know you've got somebody in your corner. Don't be afraid to get in there. I mean, it's no different than walking down the hallway and popping your head into a classroom. You're going to go in and say hi and hang out and see how things are. And kids might have questions for you, or they might not. And it's a great way to, have a presence and let people know that you're available. And I think that's key. Letting people know your door's always open is really important.
We haven't addressed the elephant in the room that I hear quite often out there, and it's that the kids that have opted to stay home for online learning are quite often those kids whose needs are complex.
Mm.
And so, any thoughts on how differentiated supports might be addressed in the online environment and how we can support those kids at home?
Yeah, this is a real, like you said, it is the elephant in the room. With a brick and mortar school, you have those supports that are literally in the classroom. You've got your EAs or TAs, or however you want to call them, whatever school division you're in, they're all different. But it doesn't mean that can't happen online. And so I know with some schools, what they'll do is they'll book online time, either with an instructor or a teacher aide, where they can help those students with some of that information. But there's a ton of software tools that make information universally digestible. And so if you've got the need for a scribe, or someone to read to you, there's so many programs that will do that for you. You can talk to your computer, it'll write it down. You can have your computer read to you. I think of my wife right now, she's taken some courses and all of her textbooks are online, and she has a textbook reader. She doesn't even read it. Don't drive me nuts, but but yeah, there's tools out there to help students. It's just knowing them and how to help. I think a big part of that is bringing parents in and guardians, people at home that are helping out the students, because really that becomes their role in a lot of ways. And so if you can show them those tools to help them, that really goes a long way. But yeah, you're right. It is a big conversation to have. And I'm still navigating through what could be, very well be some of those best practices in that realm. Yeah, so it is tricky. How do we provide that one-on-one support without having a kid on the camera all day long? We need to be able to provide them tools to be successful on their own. Yeah, I think that's something that we definitely need to be cognizant of, for sure.
Okay, and then I'm going to throw the other question to you that I hear all the time is, how can I make sure that assessment is authentic? How can I make sure that it's the kids that are actually doing the learning?
Right. I think the key is having a conversation with kids and asking them about what they know. With our opportunities to have that, one-on-one conversations about students, you can ask them about some of those key bits and pieces of their learning, and they'll know them or they won't. And I think that is one of those places where you can catch out whether they're doing it. But we really have to take give them the benefit of the doubt, right? uh, if parents are gonna try to do work for their kids, it's not gonna help them. They're ultimately gonna struggle down the road, and so yeah, eventually it's gonna come out, and it's gonna put them so much further behind. But yeah, I think having conversations with kids is key. It tells you whether they know what they know. But really, the proof comes out in their work in class. If you've got a lot of interactive live activities with students, you'll quickly see which ones are getting it and which ones aren't. And so that really speaks to it. If people are continually giving those types of assessments where it's like, here's a quiz, here's a test, here's a written thing. Those are great. We need those. But it doesn't necessarily give us those clues as to what they're really learning. And I think one thing I would suggest, and this isn't a fit for everybody, is project-based learning. And if you're working with projects, with groups, or even on your own, when you work in that sort of learning environment, you're taking ownership over that learning. So we really see that process. And that can work at any grade level. It's amazing what kind of projects you can come up with. And so the nice thing about it is that you can hit up many different curricular outcomes from all across the board. You can hit up all your core subject areas and option areas within a project. And so yeah, there's lots of ways to think about how can I get a meaningful assessment out of my students, um, by having them demonstrate their learning. And so yeah, I think the project is really nice.
I've taken up a lot of your time today, and I appreciate you spending it with me. Do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with our audience around online learning and what you think is to come for its future?
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about online learning, and it's not because I'm immersed in it. I really think it has a lot of traction for the future of education globally, and I think it really opens up the doors to flexibility within learning for students. Uh, I think that for instructors, a lot of instructors, this is new and it can be quite daunting, but it can be very rewarding as well. And I always think of times when I worked with staff in technology, and I would have some of those teachers that were, you know, they had been doing the same thing and it worked very well for them for a long time. And they were really resistant at first. And you work with them one-on-one and you get them to, try it out, and they get to see, oh man, this is actually not so bad. And those people end up becoming your champions and saying, look, I've been doing this for so long, and then I see this new way of doing it, and it's better. And it made my workload easier. Why would I go back? I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I think that a lot of parents have really realized that, yeah, this is a great option for my family. And so yeah, that's a nice thing. Now we're in a place where people are thinking about structure and thinking about, how do we do this and maintain it. And it's really changed how things have rolled out. And yeah, it's made it a meaningful and usable system for education. Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I can't say enough good things about it.
Well, I think you and I are both very fortunate in the roles that we have to be able to connect with educators that are rolling this out for students. And I know that I'm excited to have you as part of the team, because the wealth of knowledge that you bring and the enthusiasm that you have for it is absolutely invigorating and energizing. So thank you, Colin, for your time today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.